All right, lesson 5.5, quadratics and quarantine. Last day we did factoring in the form of x squared plus bx plus c, where a was equal to 1. Today what we're going to do is factor in the form of, I've included the a here because we do have an a value. So this is where a is going to be anything but 1. So it could be a negative number, or it can be a positive number, but it does not equal 1. The only way it can equal 1 is if it was a negative 1, but once again, last day was when a is equal to 1. Today is when a is equal to anything but 1, including negative 1. So that brings a whole new set of circumstances, but no big deal. The man method that I showed you last day is actually going to apply to this as well, with one little change. So the method that we're going to use here is the method of decomposition. So I'll write that here, decomposition. So decomposition, what we're going to do is we're going to break down this middle term. So using the man method, there's one little change here. So first of all, if we were to factor this according to our flow chart, do we have any common factors? The answer is no. We have 3 terms here, and they are not divisible by anything in common. And we can't use our method from last day because we have an a here greater than 1. It's 3. So we're going to use our man method. But the way it's going to work is, last day our 2 numbers had to multiply together to get negative 7. Today there's a little bit of a twist, and that is we're going to look at a times c. Maybe I'll put brackets around those. So in this case, our 2 numbers have to multiply to 3 times negative 7, which is negative 21. Last day we were actually doing this, but you were taking this and you were multiplying it by 1 every time. So it's actually the same format, only we actually have a number here other than 1 now. And they still have to add together to get 20 like before, and that's a plus 20. So what are our possible numbers? Well, our factors of negative 21, or factors of 21 would be 1 and 21, and 3 and 7. Which of these will add up to 20? So 3 and 7, I can't make those add up to 20, but 1 and 21 I can. So 21 minus 1, or minus 1 plus 21, same thing, I guess, we get 20. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to break up or decompose this middle term. So the first term we just carry down. The last term we carry down, and we break up the middle term. Now, in this case, I have to decide, am I going to put the 1 here and the 21 here, or am I going to put the 21 and the 1? And so sometimes it takes a little bit of trial and error. With a little bit of experience, you get that. So I'm looking for numbers here that are divisible by 3, and here numbers divisible by 7. So, which of these could I use? So I'm actually gonna try here by putting the 21 here, and I'm gonna put the 1 here, and of course they're 1x and 21x because we're trying to get 20x. So I'm gonna say 21x minus 1x. So this whole thing here equals that. It's just been decomposed. It's been broken down a little bit. And now what we're going to do is we're going to use our grouping method that we used before. So out of these 2, what's my greatest common factor? My greatest common factor is 3x, I believe. So 3x squared divided by 3x leaves me with an x. 21x divided by 3x leaves me with a plus 7. And out of these 2, the greatest thing I have in common is a 1. Negative 1 divided by 1 is negative 1x divided by negative 1 is negative x. I don't want a negative x, I want a positive x. So that tells me that I'm actually going to take -1 out of that. So -1x divided by 1 is positive x. 7 divided by -1 is plus 7. And we can put this together. 3x minus 1 and x plus 7. So what determined the order that I put these in? In this case, because I was looking for something divisible by 3, and 21 is. Not only that, but yeah, I don't know how to explain it. It just comes with a little bit of experience. And of course, if you're not getting this to work out, go back and rearrange these two. In other questions, as you'll see, we'll have numbers here and here that are, one of them's divisible by 5, so that makes it easier. I'll show you as we go along. So let's do another question here. So 6x squared plus x minus 15. Do we have any greatest common factors? No. Is x greater than 1? Yes. So we're going to use our decomposition method. So for man, 6 times -15 is -90. And we have a 1x here. Our numbers have to add to 1. Now, rather than saying, 190, 245, I know my two numbers have to add together to get 1. So I'm going to look for two numbers that are very close to each other. And so, 3 times 30, blah, blah, blah. I also know 9 times 10. There's only one difference there, so those are the numbers. So we keep this the same, we keep this the same, 9 and 10. Which do I put where? Well, this is what I was talking about a moment ago. 10 is divisible by 5, 15 is divisible by 5. So I'm going to put my 10x here. And 6 is divisible by 3, 9 is divisible by 3. And now I just have to decide on my signs. So if I do a -9 plus 10, I end up at 1. And now we can do our grouping. In the first group here, we are divisible by 3 x's. So let's divide that up by 3 x's. 6x squared divided by 3x is 2 x's. And -9 divided by 3 is -3. X divided by x is that. And over here, we are divisible by 5. 10x divided by 5 is 5 x's. And that's, 2 x's. And that's what we want, so I know that is correct. It's a plus 5. And -15 divided by 5 is -3. You can see how easy I accidentally carried down -15 as a -5 there. And when I went to do it, -5 divided by 5, I got a -1, and that didn't match here. So the nice thing about this math is, if you've made a mistake along the way, quite often you'll catch yourself because it's not working out. And of course, we need these two inside the brackets to be the same number. And now, putting it together, we get that factored up. So we'll do a couple more questions. So 4x squared plus 12x plus 5. Do we have anything in common? No. How many terms? 1, 2, 3. So it's a trinomial. We got 2 ways to go. Last day, if a equals 1, we go that direction. A is not equal to 1, so we're going to go today's direction, which is to decompose. So man this up. 4 times 5 is 20. The two numbers have to add together to get 12. And so our pairs are 1 and 20, 2 and 10 will work. But we also, and 4 and 5. So I think 2 and 10 are going to be my numbers. So 4x squared, just carrying this down, plus 5. You don't need the arrows, I'm just doing that. And we're going to decompose or break up this 12x. Where do I put the 2? Where do I put the 10? Well, once again, 5 is divisible, or 5 is divisible by 5, and so is 10. So I'm going to put my 10x next to the 5. And my 2x, I'm going to put closer to this. They're both divisible by 2. And to get 12, it's 2 plus 10 is 12. And now let's do our grouping. Out of this, my greatest common factor is 2x's. Out of this, my greatest common factor is 5. So let's divide them up by that. 4x squared divided by 2x is 2x's. 2x divided by 2x is 1. And over here we have a 5. 10x divided by 5 is 2x's. 2x's is what I want, so I know that that is a greatest common factor of 5. And 5 divided by 5 is 1. 2x's plus 5. 2x's plus 1. How much fun is this? Don't answer that. All right. Greatest common factor, we don't have one. Trinomial. So is a equal to 1? No, a is greater than 1, so we're going to decompose. My two numbers have to multiply to 3 times 8 is 24, and they have to add together to 10. So here we have 1 and 24, 2 and 12, 3 and 8, 4 and 6. All right, so this is an interesting one because I can make 2 and 12 equal 10, minus 2 plus 12. I can also make 4 and 6 equal 10. So we are going to have to determine which of these, and sometimes it's a bit of a crapshoot, sometimes they both work. Let's pick the first one here. So we have 3m squared, and we have our plus 8. 12 is divisible by 3, so I'm going to put my 12m over here to be with the 3, and 2 and 8 are both divisible by 2, so I'm going to put my 2m here. And to get 10, we're going to do plus 12 minus 2. So let's group these. Greatest common factor of the first group is 3m. My greatest common factor of the second group is 2. So 3m, dividing that up, 3m squared divided by 3m just leaves me with an m. 12m divided by 3m leaves me with 4. Negative 2m divided by 2 leaves me with a negative m. I don't want a negative m, I want a positive m because that's what I have here. So that tells me that my greatest common factor that I'm going to pull out is a negative 2. So negative 2m divided by negative 2 is m. And 8 divided by negative 2 is... This isn't working. So, what that tells us is even though these appear to work, they don't work. So let's try 4 and 6. So 3m squared plus 8. Once again, 6 is divisible by 3. So I'm going to put my 6m here and my 4m here. And 6 plus 4 is 10. All right. Factor by grouping now. I can pull out a 3m here, and my greatest common factor here is a 4. So let's try that. 3m squared divided by 3m is m. 6m divided by 3m is plus 2. 4m divided by 4 is m, so that is a plus 4. And 8 divided by 4 is 2. That worked. So 3m plus 4, m plus 2. So sometimes you'll get a couple factors that'll appear to work initially, and hopefully you guess right. With a little bit of experience, you do tend to guess right. If you don't, you will stumble across that it's not working, and that'll tell you to go back. All right, 3 more quick examples and we will be done. So 6x squared plus 3x minus 45. So according to our flow chart, greatest common factor first, and we actually can pull out a greatest common factor here. Greatest common factor. Out of these three terms, I believe we can pull a 3 out of each. So if I divide this up by 3, I get 6x squared divided by 3 is 2x squared. 3x divided by 3 is plus x, or plus 1x. And negative 45 divided by 3 is negative 15. All right, can we factor further? Inside the brackets here, yes we can. We have a trinomial. A is greater than 1, so we're going to decompose. So I'm going to pull my 3 down on the outside. And my first and last terms I can copy down. Let's man it out. 2 times negative 15 is negative 30. And 1. Once again, because my two numbers have to add to 1, I'm looking for two numbers that are 1 apart. So I'm going to do 5 and 6. I don't have to do the 1 times 30 and the 2 times 15. Looking for two numbers that are 1 apart. So 5 and 6. Because 5 and 15 are both divisible by 5, I'm going to put my 5 here and my 6 here. And 6 and 2 are both even, so we know they're divisible by something in common as well. To get plus 1, I'm going to do 6 minus 5. All right. Factor by grouping. Out of my first group, I can pull a 2x. Out of my second group, I can pull a 5 as greatest common factors. So 2x squared divided by 2x is just an x. 6x squared divided by 2x is 3. Negative 5x squared divided by 5 is negative x. I don't want negative x, I want a positive x. So let's make it a negative 5 we're pulling out. And so negative 5x divided by negative 5 is positive x. Negative 15 divided by negative 5 is positive 3. Those match. And so 2x minus 5, x plus 3. There we go, factored. All right, x squared plus 10xy minus 3y squared. Just a different look here. Got a couple different letters here, a couple different variables, and we do have a y squared at the end. So, first of all, if we pull something out in common, the answer is no. Is this a trinomial? Yes, 3 terms. A is greater than 1, so we are going to decompose. 8 times negative 3, our two numbers have to equal negative 24 when multiplied together. They have to equal 10 when added together. So we have 1 and 24, 2 and 12, 3 and 8, 4 and 6 as possibilities. Like a previous question, we have 2 different possibilities. Now, I'm going to tell you right now that if we pick 4 and 6, and 4 and 6 look like they might work because 4 and 8 are both divisible by 4. 3 and 6 are both divisible by 3. So you think if you plug those in, it should work. It won't work. What will happen is, and I'm going to save you the time of having to go through this, but you're going to get down to this line. And you can see right here, we have a plus y and a minus y. It doesn't work. So 2 and 12 are our numbers. And sometimes this is trial and error. One doesn't work, so you have to go to the other one. So 8x squared and minus 3y squared. I'll carry down our first and our last terms. 2 and 12, we have to decide which goes where. I'm not going to put the 2 with the 3 because there's nothing in common, but 12 and 3 are both divisible by 3. So I'm going to put the 12 there, and I'm going to put the 2 here. And it's going to be 2xy's and 12xy's. So you keep the variables the same. And to get to 10, we're going to do minus 2 plus 12. Factor by grouping now. Out of this first group, it looks like I can pull a 2x in common. And out of these two terms, we have a 3y in common. So 8x squared divided by 2x is 4x's. Negative 2 divided by 2 is negative 1. X divided by x is 1. It's kind of gone. And we just end up with a y left. And over here, 12xy divided by 3y. 12 divided by 3 is 4. And xy divided by y, we are left with an x. 4x and 4x are the same, so that tells me that yes, it was a positive 3y that I wanted. And negative 3y squared divided by positive 3y leaves me with a negative y. So 2x plus 3y, 4x minus 4. And one more question. It's a word problem. And it says that height of a ball thrown from a ladder can be approximated by this formula. We've seen these formulas before. All right, a couple things. If I'm throwing a ball, common sense tells me that I'm gonna see a parabola that looks like this. And it's also thrown from a ladder. So if I include my x and y axes, I'm up a ladder here somewhere, and I'm gonna throw the ball. So we're gonna have something that looks like that. So I'm expecting to find a negative a. First of all, the question asks us to write this in factored form. So we have 3 terms here. Is our greatest common factor? There is. Our GCF here is equal to 2. So we can factor this by 2. If we divide up each of these terms by 2, we get a, so negative 2t divided by 2 leaves me with a negative t squared. Negative 4t divided by 2 is negative 2t. And 48 divided by 2 is 24. Now here's the deal. I want a negative a out front. I know I'm gonna have a negative. Secondly, I don't want a negative t here. I don't want a negative 1 there. So I'm actually going to pull out a negative 2 as my greatest common factor. And what that's gonna do is this. And now I have my negative 2. I know this is going to be a parabola that opens downwards now, stretched by a factor of 2. Continuing on, I have a trinomial here, and I can factor it out. Is my a greater than 1? No, it's actually 1, so we can go back to the method that we used last day. So I'm going to carry down this out front, and inside and what we're going to get is 2 brackets with a t in each. And we're still going to use our man method. Our 2 numbers have to equal negative 24, or if you want to do 1 times negative 24 like we've been doing, it's the same thing. And you have to add together to get 2. I know 1 and 24 won't get me there. 2 and 12 won't get me there. 3 and 8 won't get me there. 4 and 6 will get me there. So it's a 4 and a 6. To get to negative 2, it's going to be negative 4 plus 6. It says determine where, part B of this question is determine where the ball will hit the ground. Well, if we graph this out, we know that we have 2 zeros here. We know the ball crosses the x-axis at 4. We know the ball crosses the x-axis at -6. We know we have a stretch value of 2, but that doesn't really matter. We know that it was thrown from the top of a ladder. And obviously in real life, this part doesn't exist as the ball being thrown. It's just right here. The actual ball's path from the ladder to the ground is this blue part, but mathematically we do have a full parabola. And so where does the ball hit the ground? Right here at 4 meters or 4 feet or 4 whatever units. I think the question is in meters, so 4 meters away. That's it. Good luck, ladies and gentlemen.